Hello and welcome to this tutorial in which I will show how to basically build a parking garage from scratch. So this is the object in question. This is what I'm going to build now. You will now see a little time lapse I made before where I'm basically building all this stuff. The end result of that one was basically around 1 hour of work, and there's still a lot of potential to actually make it look better and put more props in, more assets, to have everything a little bit more polished and look better. So this is just about the basic concept on how to build such a multi-story parking garage. You do need some mods for that project, mainly movie tool. You need some assets and props to make the pillars and all that stuff. So what we do here is now first we lay up the ramps by building some roads. This is a little bit finicky until everything is going to get right, because you have the problems with the road will always try to snap to the other road, and that's a little bit finicky. So this takes some time until it gets right. And you also need to find a good high difference for the ramp. I use, I think, 3 units for that one. But I used 6 units actually, and that was a little bit too much. So it should be more around 5 units, and it looks very odd when standing alone. So now I'm connecting up the rampway to the actual road by just placing road and then using move it to fit it better to the actual asset. The next step, I'm selecting only the nodes and then moving the whole ramp more closer to the road, because it will be a side structure of that whole pathway. What I'm doing here is I'm using the prop line tool to actually use some bars and pillars as walls, and then I'm placing the pillars actually on the seams, on the visible seams of that wall, and yeah, they will just be pillars then. So I'm basically normally use move it tool, place the prop, and then make a copy with move it and just move it around. It's much easier to place the props than doing it manually with the thing. And the other thing is you also have the correct height. So then I'm using a surface. In that case it's ploppable asphalt. You can download from Workshop. And the same case like always, I'm putting one down, set the correct height, and then use the copy function of move it to actually fill the floor. This is more for optical reasons for the lowest part of the garage, but for the upper part they will actually serve as the floor, not the working floor, but optical. So I didn't care too much about the inner center because it wouldn't be visible anyway. And then I'm placing down parking lots. This mod is basically called raisable parking lots, which is basically what it is. A parking lot you can raise up and down with movie tool. They are actually functional, but what the cars will do, they will try to float over to the parking space. And that depends more or less where the roads are. So just be prepared about flying cars. Just laying out the ground level of the parking garage. So now I'm selecting only props, surfaces and buildings, and then select the whole thing, copy it over, place it somewhere else, and then use a copy of that and position correctly with move it again. Then just see if everything is alright and make the next level. And you can repeat this with as many levels you need or want. For me there it's 4, and then I found out that the actual rampway doesn't really line up with them, but I'll cover that later. So now for the toppest level I actually modify the surfaces again, so it actually looks nice and covers all the bits it should cover. So just functioning as the floor of the upper level. There will no cars driving on that floor. This is more just optical, but the parking spots will actually be filled. Now what I'm doing now is I'm aligning the rampway roads to the actual surface, and the end piece of the road I'm going to lower down underneath the surface. This gives the impression that the road is actually going onto the deck, but in reality it isn't. In reality it's just a dead end. But you will find pedestrians and you will find cars going there, and they may even drive into the floor there. So now you have the rest of the parking spaces, and again use the pillars from the pillar set, which is called, I think it was Expressway. Just search for Expressway in the workshop and you find some pillars and bars you can use for all sort of things. So now I'm just very unsure about how my parking top-best deck actually looked, so I removed that one and rebuilt it from scratch. And then you have these triangle pieces which I use to fill in the corner. Here we go, and the next step is just to clean up a little bit and then copy that asset again and put it over there. And here we go, the parking deck is basically finished. Now opening up the lowest floor so cars can actually visually go through there. Some cleanup. Next thing to do is actually giving pedestrian access to the parking deck. Not sure if it's actually going to be used, but well. And some props for detailing, like theirs. And basically that's it. That's the whole story. It's just not too hard to do. It's just very finicky to work with. I'm going to lower the pillars here. And then we're done. That's basically it. So hopefully you now have a very slight impression about how to build such a parking garage with multiple levels. And you see actually there are cars, they're real cars. And I would suggest just go ahead and try one yourself. It isn't too hard, it's just costing a lot of time. So if you're into that sort of stuff and want to have that amount of detailing in your city, go ahead, just plan some down. The process is generally always the same, and you're not limited to any predefined forms or shapes. You can just fit that stuff wherever you want. And you also can use lanterns and all that stuff to put on there, which would look pretty good. So I hope you enjoyed that video, and I wish you a lot of fun by building your city. Bye bye.